Picture a world where chaos and cunning walk hand in hand, where a single figure can topple the order of the gods with nothing but a sly smile and a clever plan. This is the world of Loki, the trickster god of Norse mythology, a character as unpredictable as he is unforgettable. Whether he's stirring up trouble or saving the day, Loki's stories are a whirlwind of mischief, wit, and unexpected consequences. From transforming into animals to outsmarting gods and giants alike, Loki's antics are the stuff of legend. In this video, we're diving deep into 25 tales that showcase his unrivaled cleverness and the chaos he leaves in his wake. So, if you're ready to uncover the wild, twisted, and often hilarious world of Loki, stay with us because this journey through Norse mythology is one you won't want to miss. Now, let's step into one of Loki's most peculiar and cunning adventures, his role in the creation of Sleipnir, the legendary eight-legged horse of Odin. This tale begins with a giant who offered to build a protective wall around Asgard, the realm of the gods, in exchange for the sun, the moon, and the goddess Freyja as payment. The gods, confident the task would take years, agreed, but the giant, aided by his powerful stallion, made swift progress. Realizing the giant might actually succeed, the gods turned to Loki, the master of mischief, for a solution. Always ready to stir things up, Loki devised a plan. He shapeshifted into a beautiful mare to distract the giant stallion, luring it away and halting the construction. But Loki's trick didn't end there. Months later, he returned, surprising everyone by giving birth to Sleipnir, a magnificent eight-legged horse born from his transformation. This unexpected twist not only saved the gods from their bargain, but also gifted Odin with one of the most iconic creatures in Norse mythology. It's a story that showcases Loki's ingenuity, his willingness to take extreme measures, and the unpredictable outcomes of his mischief. And this is just the beginning of Loki's wild and winding tales. Shifting gears to another of Loki's legendary exploits, we find ourselves in the midst of a dire predicament for the gods of Asgard. Thor, the mighty god of thunder, had lost his hammer Mjölnir to the cunning giant Thrym, who demanded the goddess Freyja as his bride in exchange for its return. Desperate to recover the weapon that symbolized his strength and the god's protection, Thor turned to none other than Loki for help. Known for his crafty solutions, Loki immediately sprang into action, devising a bold and unconventional plan. He suggested that Thor disguise himself as Freyja and accompany him to Thrym's hall to reclaim the hammer. Thor, reluctant but with no other options, agreed, and Loki, ever the shapeshifter, took on the role of a handmaiden to aid in the ruse. When they arrived, Thrym, delighted by the sight of his bride, hosted a grand feast. However, the giant became suspicious when Freyja devoured an entire ox and several barrels of mead, behavior hardly befitting a goddess. Quick-witted as ever, Loki stepped in, explaining that Freyja had been so eager for the wedding that she hadn't eaten in days. Convinced, Thrym brought out Mjölnir to bless the union, and the moment the hammer was placed in Thor's hands, he revealed himself, unleashing his fury and reclaiming his weapon. This tale not only highlights Loki's ability to think on his feet, but also underscores his dual nature as both a troublemaker and a problem solver. His clever negotiation and shape-shifting skills saved the day, proving that even when chaos ensues, Loki's ingenuity often turns the tide in the gods' favor. Now, let's venture into yet another tale of Loki's cunning, where his mischief takes an unexpected turn toward craftsmanship. This time, the story begins with Sif, the wife of Thor, renowned for her flowing golden hair that symbolized her beauty and vitality. One day, in a fit of mischief, Loki decided to cut off Sif's hair while she slept, leaving her humiliated and Thor enraged. Facing the wrath of the thunder god, Loki knew he had to make amends and fast. To appease Thor, Loki promised to find a way to restore Sif's hair, and his solution led him to the dwarves, the master crafters of the Norse realms. Loki sought out the sons of Ivaldi, skilled artisans known for their magical creations. Using his silver tongue, Loki convinced them to craft not only a new head of golden hair for Sif, but also additional treasures for the gods. The dwarves forged Gungnir, Odin's unerring spear, and Skidbladnir, Freyja's magical ship that could fold into a pocket, but Loki's mischief didn't stop there. To ensure his own glory, he bet the dwarf brothers Brokka and Sindri that they couldn't create treasures as magnificent as the sons of Ivaldi. The brothers accepted the challenge and, working tirelessly at their forge, crafted 3 masterpieces: Draupnir, Odin's ring that multiplied itself every 9th night, Mjölnir, Thor's mighty hammer, and Gullinbursti, Freyja's golden boar. Loki, ever the trickster, attempted to sabotage their work by transforming into a fly and stinging Brokka during the forging process. Despite Loki's efforts, the treasures were completed and the dwarves presented them to the gods. In the end, Loki's antics not only restored Sif's hair but also enriched the gods with legendary artifacts, showcasing his ability to turn chaos into opportunity. This story highlights Loki's resourcefulness and his knack for weaving mischief into moments of unexpected triumph. Turning now to one of Loki's most infamous acts, we come to the tragic tale of Baldur, the god of light and purity, whose death shook the Norse pantheon to its core. Baldur was beloved by all the gods for his kindness and radiant presence, but he began to have troubling dreams foretelling his own demise. Concerned for his safety, his mother, Frigg, sought to protect him by extracting oaths from every living thing, plants, animals, and even metals, to never harm her son. Believing Baldur to be invincible, the gods would often playfully throw objects at him, watching them harmlessly bounce away. However, Loki, always the schemer, saw an opportunity for mischief. Disguising himself, he approached Frigg and cunningly asked if there was anything she had overlooked in her quest to protect Baldur. Frigg admitted that she had not sought an oath from the seemingly harmless mistletoe, considering it too insignificant to pose a threat. Armed with this knowledge, Loki crafted a dart from mistletoe and, manipulating the blind god Hodder, convinced him to throw it at Baldur. The dart struck Baldur, piercing his heart and killing him instantly. The gods were devastated, and chaos ensued as they mourned the loss of their brightest star. This act revealed a darker side of Loki, one driven not by playful trickery but by malice and a desire to sow discord. Baldur's death became a pivotal moment in Norse mythology, marking the beginning of the end for the gods and setting the stage for the events of Ragnarok. Loki's role in this tragedy underscores his complexity as a figure who could bring both laughter and despair, forever altering the fate of the divine realm. Shifting our focus to another of Loki's infamous offspring, we come to the tale of Fenrir, the monstrous wolf whose very existence posed a threat to the gods. Born to Loki and the giantess Angerboda, Fenrir was no ordinary creature. From the moment of his birth, it was clear that he was destined for greatness or perhaps destruction. The gods, wary of Fenrir's growing size and strength, decided to take action. They brought him to Asgard, initially treating him as a pet, but it soon became apparent that Fenrir's power was too great to ignore. The wolf's ferocity and hunger only increased with time, and the gods feared he would one day turn on them. Knowing they needed to act, they devised a plan to bind Fenrir, but this was no simple task. The wolf was cunning and wary, refusing to be restrained by ordinary chains. The gods tricked Fenrir by challenging him to test his strength against increasingly stronger chains, claiming it was a game. Fenrir, confident in his abilities, agreed each time, easily breaking free. But when the gods presented him with Sleipnir, a slender, unbreakable chain crafted by the dwarves from impossible materials like the sound of a cat's footsteps and the breath of a fish, Fenrir grew suspicious. He demanded that one of the gods place their hand in his mouth as a sign of good faith. Only Tyr, the god of war, was brave enough to agree. When Fenrir found himself unable to break free, he bit off Tyr's hand in rage, but the gods had finally succeeded in binding him. This act marked a pivotal moment in Norse mythology, as Fenrir's imprisonment was seen as a necessary evil to protect the gods from his potential destruction. Loki, though not directly involved in the binding, played a key role in bringing Fenrir into the world, once again showcasing his ability to create chaos even through his offspring. This story highlights the complex relationship between Loki and his children, as well as the gods' constant struggle to maintain balance in the face of looming threats. Moving deeper into Loki's adventures, we now find him entangled in a quest for the mead of poetry, a magical drink said to grant the gift of eloquent speech and wisdom to anyone who consumed it. This mead, a prized possession of the giant Suttungr, was not an easy treasure to obtain. The story begins with the murder of a wise being named Kvasir, whose blood was mixed with honey to create the mead. Suttungr, seizing the opportunity, claimed it for himself and hid it in a mountain guarded by his daughter, Gunnlod. Enter Odin, who was determined to claim the mead for the gods. But even the All-Father needed a trickster's help to outwit the giant. Loki, ever the master of deception, agreed to assist. Using his shape-shifting abilities, Loki transformed into a falcon and flew to Suttungr's mountain. There he discovered Gunnlod, who was tasked with safeguarding the mead. Loki, ever the charmer, disguised himself as a handsome man and befriended her. Over 3 days, he convinced her to let him drink the mead one sip at a time, but Loki had no intention of sharing. Once he had consumed enough, he shape-shifted back into a falcon and soared toward Asgard, the mead in his beak. Suttungr, realizing he had been tricked, transformed into an eagle and gave chase. Odin, waiting at the gates of Asgard, prepared to receive the mead. As Loki neared, he spat the mead into a series of containers, but some of it spilled into the mortal world, explaining why some humans are gifted with poetic talent. The gods celebrated their victory, and the mead of poetry became a symbol of wisdom and creativity. This tale once again showcases Loki's unparalleled ability to manipulate situations and outwit even the most powerful beings, proving that his cunning knows no bounds. Transitioning to another chapter in Loki's unpredictable life, we find him in a rather precarious situation. Captured by the giant Gereth, Loki's quick thinking was put to the test once again. Gereth, known for his strength and cunning, had lured Loki into his domain with the promise of a challenge, but the trickster soon realized it was a trap. Bound and at the mercy of the giant, Loki knew he needed a way out. Enter Thor, the mighty god of thunder. Loki, ever the manipulator, managed to send a message to Thor pleading for his assistance. Thor, despite their complicated relationship, couldn't ignore the call for help. Armed with his hammer Mjölnir, Thor stormed into Gereth's lair, ready to confront the giant. Gereth, thinking he had the upper hand, tried to overpower Thor, but the god's strength and resilience proved unmatched. As the battle raged on, Loki seized the opportunity to free himself. Using his wits, he created a distraction, allowing Thor to deliver the final blow to Gereth. With the giant defeated, the two gods made their escape. This tale underscores Loki's knack for turning dire situations to his advantage, even when he's not the one holding all the cards. His ability to manipulate those around him, coupled with Thor's brute strength, once again ensured that Loki emerged unscathed. Now let's turn our attention to one of Loki's most cunning exploits, where he once again found himself at the center of both chaos and resolution for the gods. This time, the story revolves around the creation of Sleipnir, a seemingly impossible chain that would play a crucial role in the fate of Fenrir, the monstrous wolf. Fenrir, one of Loki's own offspring, had grown so powerful and ferocious that the gods feared he would bring about their downfall. They knew they had to bind him, but no ordinary chain could hold such a beast. Enter Loki, the master of trickery. The gods tasked him with finding a solution, and true to form, Loki turned to the dwarves, the most skilled crafters in all the realms. Using his silver tongue, Loki convinced the dwarves to create a chain unlike any other. Sleipnir was forged from 6 impossible ingredients: the sound of a cat's footfall, the beard of a woman, the roots of a mountain, the sinews of a bear, the breath of a fish, and the spittle of a bird. Each element was as elusive as it was magical, and the result was a chain that was as thin as a ribbon yet unbreakable. When Sleipnir was presented to the gods, they marveled at its craftsmanship, but Loki's role didn't end there. He played a key part in convincing Fenrir to test his strength against what appeared to be a harmless thread. The wolf, suspicious but confident, agreed to the test, only to find himself bound by Sleipnir's unyielding strength. This tale is a perfect example of Loki's duality. He created the problem with Fenrir's growing power, yet he also provided the solution with his cunning and resourcefulness. Once again, Loki proved that even in the most dire circumstances, his ingenuity could turn the tide. And with Fenrir bound, the gods could breathe easier, knowing that one of their greatest threats had been subdued, at least for a time. But as we'll see in the stories to come, Loki's mischief was far from over. Now, shifting our focus to another moment that highlights Loki's unpredictable nature, we arrive at a feast that would go down in myth as one of his most brazen displays of chaos. The gods had gathered for a grand celebration in the hall of Aegir, the god of the sea. The mood was joyful as the gods feasted and drank, but Loki, ever the provocateur, saw an opportunity to stir trouble. Initially, he was denied entry due to his reputation, but Loki, with his sharp tongue and cunning persistence, managed to worm his way into the festivities. Once inside, he wasted no time in turning the atmosphere from celebration to confrontation. Loki began by targeting each of the gods in turn, hurling insults and exposing their deepest secrets. He mocked Thor for his temper, ridiculed Freyja for her vanity, and even called out Odin for his questionable decisions. His words were cutting, designed to embarrass and provoke, and the gods, caught off guard, could do little but seethe in silence. Loki's motivations here were complex. On one hand, it seemed like a simple act of spite, a chance to humiliate those who often looked down on him. But on a deeper level, it was also a moment of raw honesty, forcing the gods to confront their flaws and hypocrisies. However, Loki's actions didn't go unpunished. The gods, furious and humiliated, finally turned on him. Thor, in particular, threatened to crush Loki with his hammer, and the Trickster, realizing he had gone too far, tried to escape. But the gods were quick to act, capturing Loki and subjecting him to a harsh punishment. He was bound with the entrails of his son Narfi, and a venomous serpent was placed above him, its poison dripping painfully onto his face. Though Loki's wife Sigyn tried to shield him by catching the venom in a bowl, she had to empty it periodically, leaving Loki to endure the agony of the poison. This punishment marked a turning point in Loki's relationship with the gods, a stark reminder of the consequences of his unchecked mischief. This tale not only showcases Loki's ability to disrupt even the most sacred gatherings, but also reveals the darker side of his character, where his defiance and sharp wit crossed into outright cruelty. Yet it also underscores the vulnerability of the gods, who, for all their power, were not immune to criticism or shame. With this pivotal moment behind us, we'll soon see how Loki's actions continued to shape the fate of the gods and the realms they ruled. Continuing our journey through Loki's tales, we now turn to a story that reveals both his capacity for mischief and his knack for cleaning up his own messes. This time, the Trickster found himself entangled in the fate of Idun, the goddess of youth, and her precious golden apples. These apples were no ordinary fruit. They granted the gods eternal youth and vitality, making them essential to the divine order. Without them, the gods would age and weaken, a terrifying prospect for the rulers of the cosmos. Loki's involvement began when he was captured by the giant Thjazi, who demanded that Loki bring him Idun and her apples. Ever the survivor, Loki agreed, using his silver tongue to deceive the goddess. he convinced Idun to follow him outside Asgard, claiming he had found apples even more wondrous than hers. Trusting him, she brought her golden apples along, only to be ambushed by Thjazi, who swiftly carried her off to his lair. With Idun gone, the gods quickly began to age, their strength and beauty fading. Panic spread through Asgard as the realization dawned that without Idun's apples, their reign was in peril. The gods soon traced the crisis back to Loki, and under intense pressure, he was forced to act. Disguising himself as a falcon, Loki flew to Thjazi's mountain stronghold, where he found Idun and transformed her into a nut to carry her safely back. The giant, enraged by the theft, pursued them in the form of an eagle, but the gods, now prepared, lit a fire that consumed Thjazi as he tried to enter Asgard. This story highlights Loki's dual role as both the architect of chaos and the one who often has to fix it. His actions endangered the gods, yet it was his cunning that ultimately saved them. The tale also underscores the fragility of the gods' power, reminding us that even the divine are not immune to vulnerability. As we move forward, we'll see how Loki's schemes continue to shape the fate of Asgard, often blurring the line between hero and villain. Now, let's uncover another chapter in Loki's life, one that delves into his complex relationships and the legacy of chaos he left behind. This time, we explore his connection with the giantess Angerboda, a figure who would play a pivotal role in shaping the fate of the gods. Their union was far from ordinary, as it produced 3 offspring who would grow into some of the most feared beings in Norse mythology: Fenrir, the monstrous wolf, Jörmungandr, the world serpent, and Hel, the ruler of the underworld. Loki and Angerboda's children were not just powerful, they were prophesied to bring about great destruction. Fenrir, a wolf of immense strength, was destined to break free during Ragnarok and devour Odin himself. Jörmungandr, the serpent that encircled Midgard, would eventually rise from the ocean to poison the skies and battle Thor. And Hel, who presided over the realm of the dead, would gather an army of souls to march against the gods in the final days. The gods, aware of the danger these beings posed, took drastic measures to contain them. Fenrir was bound with the unbreakable chain Sleipnir, though not without great struggle and sacrifice. Jörmungandr was cast into the ocean, where it grew so large it could encircle the world. Hel was sent to rule over the underworld, a place where she would oversee those who did not die in battle. This tale reveals a darker side of Loki's influence, showing how his actions sowed seeds of destruction that would haunt the gods for generations. While he often played the role of trickster and problem solver, his relationship with Angerboda and their offspring reminds us that Loki's mischief could have far-reaching, catastrophic consequences. As we move forward, we'll see how these events set the stage for the ultimate clash of gods and giants in Ragnarok, a battle where Loki's legacy would come full circle. Now, let's turn our attention to one of Loki's lesser-known but equally fascinating escapades found within the pages of the Skaldskaparmál. This section of Norse mythology is rich with contests of wit and strength, and Loki, ever the trickster, finds himself right in the thick of it. Here, he faces off against both gods and giants in a series of challenges, each more cunning than the last. In one such tale, Loki engages in a battle of wits with the gods, using his quick thinking and cleverness to come out on top. He often turns the tables on his opponents by playing on their expectations and exploiting their weaknesses. Whether it's through deceptive words or unexpected tricks, Loki keeps everyone guessing, showcasing his reputation as the ultimate trickster. One memorable instance involves a contest of insults where Loki spares no one, hurling sharp, biting remarks at the gods and revealing their flaws in the most humiliating ways. While this might seem like mere mischief, it's also a reminder of Loki's ability to expose truths that others would rather keep hidden. His audacity in these challenges not only entertains but also serves as a mirror, reflecting the vulnerabilities of even the mightiest gods. At the same time, Loki's antics in the Skaldskaparmál highlight his dual nature. While he often creates chaos, he also demonstrates his ability to navigate complex situations with intelligence and resourcefulness. His interactions in these stories are a testament to his unique role in Norse mythology, a figure who thrives on unpredictability and whose actions, whether playful or perilous, keep the gods on their toes. As we continue, we'll see how these moments of trickery and competition add another layer to Loki's complex character, revealing a god who is as much a problem solver as he is a troublemaker. This chapter sets the stage for even greater tales of his cunning, where his cleverness takes center stage in ways that both amaze and unsettle those around him. Turning now to one of Loki's most extraordinary abilities, his shape-shifting adventures take us into a world of endless possibilities. Loki's knack for transformation wasn't just a party trick, it was a key tool in his arsenal of mischief and survival. Time and again, he used this ability to outmaneuver his enemies, escape peril, or simply cause chaos in the most unexpected ways. One of his most famous transformations came when he turned himself into a salmon to evade capture. Cornered by the gods after one of his more destructive schemes, Loki leapt into a river and took on the form of this agile fish, darting through the water with unmatched speed. Yet, even in this form, Loki couldn't resist leaving a clue. As the gods tried to catch him, he left a mark on the riverbank, a subtle hint of his presence that ultimately led to his capture. This story not only showcases Loki's resourcefulness, but also his inability to completely abandon his mischievous nature, even when his life depends on it. Another remarkable tale involves Loki's transformation into a mare. In a bid to distract a powerful stallion owned by a giant, Loki shifted into the form of a beautiful mare, luring the stallion away and preventing the giant from completing a task that would have threatened the gods. The result of this escapade was the birth of Sleipnir, Odin's eight-legged horse, a creature that would become one of the most iconic figures in Norse mythology. This story highlights not only Loki's cunning but also the unintended consequences of his actions, which often ripple far beyond his original intentions. Then there's the tale of Loki as a fly. During one of the gods' feasts, Loki transformed into a tiny, persistent insect to disrupt the proceedings. Buzzing around, he caused chaos by stealing food, whispering insults, and generally making himself a nuisance. While this might seem like a minor act of mischief, it's a testament to Loki's creativity and his willingness to go to great lengths, no matter how small, to stir up trouble. Through these shape-shifting exploits, Loki reveals yet another layer of his complex personality. Whether it's evading capture, solving problems, or simply causing chaos, his transformations are a reminder of his unparalleled adaptability and his ability to think outside the box. These stories not only entertain but also demonstrate how Loki's ingenuity often blurs the line between hero and villain, making him one of the most fascinating figures in Norse mythology. As we move forward, we'll see how Loki's shape-shifting abilities play a role in even more daring and dramatic tales, where his transformations become a key part of his legacy as the ultimate trickster. Now, let's turn our attention to one of Loki's most cunning and consequential tricks, the tale of Thjasse. This story begins with Loki finding himself in yet another precarious situation, this time involving the giant Thjasse and the goddess Idun, the keeper of the magical apples that grant the gods eternal youth. Loki, ever the master of deception, had been coerced into kidnapping Idun by Thjasse, who desired her apples for himself. However, when the gods discovered Idun's absence and their youth began to fade, they quickly turned to Loki for answers. Cornered and desperate, Loki devised a plan to retrieve Idun and shift the blame. He borrowed Freyja's feather cloak, which allowed him to fly, and set off to Thjasse's domain. Upon locating Idun, Loki transformed her into a nut and carried her back to Asgard. But Thjasse, realizing he'd been tricked, gave chase in the form of a powerful eagle. As Loki raced toward the safety of the god's realm, Thjasse closed in, his massive wings beating the air with furious intensity. Just as Thjasse was about to seize Loki, the gods lit a fire at the walls of Asgard. Loki, swift and nimble, passed through unharmed, but Thjasse, blinded by his rage and the smoke, flew too close and was consumed by the flames. This marked the end of the giant, but not the end of the story. Thjasse's daughter, Skadi, a fierce and formidable giantess, soon arrived in Asgard, demanding vengeance for her father's death. The gods, eager to avoid further conflict, offered her compensation in the form of a husband and a chance to make them laugh, a task that fell predictably to Loki. Loki, always ready to turn a tense situation into an opportunity for mischief, tied one end of a rope to a goat and the other to his own beard. The resulting antics, as both Loki and the goat tugged and stumbled, left Skadi in fits of laughter. Though she accepted the gods' terms, this story reveals the far-reaching consequences of Loki's actions. His trickery not only led to Thjasse's demise, but also sparked a chain of events that required his own intervention to resolve. This tale highlights Loki's dual role as both instigator and mediator, a figure capable of creating chaos but also of finding creative solutions to the problems he causes. It's a reminder of his complexity and the lasting impact of his mischief, even when unintended. As we move forward, we'll see how Loki's cunning continues to shape the fates of gods and giants alike, forever blurring the line between hero and villain. Now let's delve into one of the most pivotal and symbolic moments in Loki's story, his capture and binding by the gods. This event unfolds in the aftermath of Baldur's tragic death, a catastrophe Loki himself orchestrated. The gods, grieving and enraged by Loki's role in Baldur's demise, sought justice and retribution. Loki, ever the elusive trickster, fled Asgard and took refuge in a remote cave near a waterfall. There, he transformed himself into a salmon, blending into the natural surroundings to evade capture. But the gods, determined to find him, devised a clever plan. They crafted a net inspired by the intricate designs of the sea and began dragging it through the river. Loki, realizing the gods were closing in, attempted to leap over the net in a desperate bid to escape. It was Thor, with his unmatched strength, who managed to seize Loki mid-leap, bringing his flight to an end. The gods then bound Loki in a gruesome and symbolic manner. They used the entrails of his own son, Nafi, who had been turned into a wolf and killed by his brother Vali. These bonds were unbreakable, representing the inescapable consequences of Loki's actions. To ensure Loki's torment, the gods placed a venomous serpent above him, its poison dripping onto his face. Loki's wife, Sigyn, remained loyal, catching the venom in a bowl to spare him the pain. But when she turned to empty it, the poison struck Loki, causing him to writhe in agony. His thrashing was said to cause earthquakes, a vivid illustration of the chaos he embodied. Loki's binding is rich with symbolism in Norse mythology. It represents the ultimate reckoning for his mischief and malice, a moment where the gods imposed order upon chaos. Yet it also foreshadows the events of Ragnarok, when Loki will break free and lead the forces of destruction against the gods. His punishment is not just a form of retribution, but also a reminder of the delicate balance between order and chaos, a theme central to Norse mythology. As we reflect on Loki's binding, we see a figure who, despite his cunning and resourcefulness, could not escape the consequences of his deeds. His story serves as a powerful reminder of the cyclical nature of fate and the inevitability of justice, even for the most elusive of tricksters. Next, we'll explore how Loki's legacy unfolds in the prophecies of Ragnarok, where his role as a harbinger of destruction takes center stage. Turning our attention to the ultimate culmination of Loki's story, we arrive at the prophesied events of Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods. This cataclysmic event, foretold in Norse mythology, marks the end of the world as we know it and the beginning of a new cycle. Loki, true to his nature, plays a central and chilling role in this apocalyptic saga. After his binding and torment in the cave, Loki's fate seemed sealed. Yet, the prophecies of Ragnarok revealed that he would not remain captive forever. As the world edges closer to its inevitable destruction, Loki is destined to break free from his bonds. His escape symbolizes the unleashing of chaos, a force that cannot be contained indefinitely. Once free, Loki wastes no time in rallying the forces of destruction. Loki's children, the monstrous Fenrir, the colossal serpent Jörmungandr, and the ruler of the underworld Hel, all join him in this final battle. Together, they lead an army of giants and the dead against the gods of Asgard. Loki's leadership in this rebellion underscores his dual identity as both a trickster and a harbinger of doom. While he had always been a source of mischief and cunning, Ragnarok reveals the full extent of his destructive potential. During the battle, Loki faces Heimdall, the ever-vigilant guardian of the Bifrost Bridge. Their confrontation is one of the most dramatic moments of Ragnarok. In a fierce and fateful clash, both Loki and Heimdall meet their end, striking each other down in a final act of mutual destruction. This moment encapsulates the cyclical nature of Norse mythology, where creation and destruction are eternally intertwined. Loki's role in Ragnarok is not just one of destruction but also of transformation. His actions, while devastating, pave the way for the rebirth of the world. After the chaos of Ragnarok subsides, a new earth emerges, fertile and full of potential. This new beginning, born from the ashes of the old, signifies the enduring balance between order and chaos that defines Norse cosmology. As we reflect on Loki's exploits in Ragnarok, we see a figure whose legacy is as complex as it is contradictory. He is both the bringer of chaos and an agent of renewal, a trickster whose actions ultimately shape the destiny of the gods and the world itself. Next, we'll journey into the halls of Utgard, the Loki, where deception and illusion take center stage in another of Loki's captivating tales. Shifting our focus to another tale of cunning and deception, we find Loki and Thor venturing into the hall of Utgard, the Loki. This saga, filled with illusions and tests of strength, showcases Loki's quick thinking and adaptability in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges. Upon their arrival, Loki and Thor are greeted by Utgard, the Loki, a giant who presents himself as the king of a vast and mysterious realm. Eager to prove their might, the two gods accept a series of challenges, unaware that they are being deceived by illusions crafted by their host. Loki, ever the trickster, is no stranger to games of wit, but even he struggles to see through the elaborate ruse at first. In one of the challenges, Loki is pitted against Logi, a figure claiming to be the embodiment of fire, in an eating contest. Loki devours his portion with impressive speed, only to discover that Logi has consumed not just the food but also the plates and even the table itself. This defeat leaves Loki bewildered as he begins to suspect that not everything is as it seems. Meanwhile, Thor faces his own series of trials, including a drinking contest and a wrestling match, each one defying his expectations and pushing him to his limits. As the challenges unfold, Loki's sharp mind starts to piece together the truth. He realizes that Utgard, the Loki, has been using magic to manipulate their perceptions, turning ordinary objects and tasks into seemingly impossible feats. This revelation highlights Loki's resourcefulness as he begins to navigate the illusions with newfound clarity. Though he and Thor do not emerge victorious in the traditional sense, their journey through the Hall of Utgard, the Loki, serves as a testament to their resilience and ingenuity. The tale of Utgard, the Loki, underscores Loki's role as both a participant in and an observer of the gods' struggles. While his mischief often causes chaos, it also equips him with the ability to see through deception and adapt to challenging circumstances. This story, with its layers of illusion and revelation, reminds us that appearances can be deceiving and that true strength lies in understanding and outsmarting the tricks laid before us. Next, we'll explore another of Loki's exploits, this time involving Freyja's prized necklace, the Brisingamen, and the cunning theft that shook the halls of Asgard. Turning our attention to another chapter in Loki's intricate web of mischief, we arrive at the tale of Freyja's prized necklace, the Brisingamen. This story not only highlights Loki's cunning, but also reveals the delicate balance between his chaos and the gods' expectations. Freyja, the goddess of love and beauty, cherished this golden necklace, a symbol of her power and allure. Yet its brilliance caught the eye of Loki, whose thirst for chaos and challenge knew no bounds. One night, driven by a mix of curiosity and mischief, Loki devised a plan to steal the Brisingamen. Using his shape-shifting abilities, he transformed into a fly and slipped into Freyja's chamber unnoticed. There he snatched the necklace from her sleeping form, leaving no trace of his presence. When Freyja awoke to find her treasure missing, her despair echoed through the halls of Asgard. The gods, alarmed by her distress, quickly suspected Loki, whose reputation for mischief made him the prime suspect. Confronted by Odin, Loki initially denied any involvement, but the All-Father saw through his lies. Under pressure, Loki admitted to the theft but refused to reveal the necklace's location. Odin, ever the strategist, tasked Loki with retrieving the Brisingamen and returning it to Freyja. Reluctantly, Loki agreed, knowing that defying Odin's command would only bring greater trouble. Loki's journey to recover the necklace was fraught with challenges, as he had hidden it in a place only he could access. Using his wit and resourcefulness, he eventually retrieved the Brisingamen and returned it to Freyja. Though she forgave him, the incident deepened the gods' mistrust of Loki, reminding them of his unpredictable nature. This tale underscores Loki's dual role as both a disruptor and a problem solver, showcasing his ability to create chaos and then, when necessary, resolve it. The theft of the Brisingamen serves as a reminder of Loki's complex motivations. While his actions often stemmed from a desire to test boundaries and stir trouble, they also highlighted the god's vulnerabilities and their reliance on his unique skills. This story, like many others, reveals Loki's intricate place in the world of Norse mythology, a figure who defies simple categorization, leaving both gods and mortals to grapple with his enigmatic legacy. Next, we'll uncover how Loki's actions in the tale of Andvari's treasure set in motion a chain of events that would shape the fate of gods and heroes alike. Now, let's step into a darker chapter of Loki's mischief, where his actions ripple far beyond the moment, shaping destinies and unleashing tragedy. In the tale of Andvari, we see Loki's cunning take on a more sinister edge, as his pursuit of treasure sets in motion a chain of events that would haunt the gods and mortals alike. Andvari, a skilled dwarf, lived in an underwater cave surrounded by a vast hoard of gold and jewels. Among his treasures was a ring of unparalleled beauty known as Andvaranot. But this ring was no ordinary piece of jewelry. It was cursed, destined to bring misfortune to anyone who possessed it. When Loki, ever the opportunist, learned of Andvari's wealth, he saw an opportunity to enrich himself at the dwarf's expense. Using his shape-shifting abilities, Loki turned into an otter and slipped into Andvari's cave. There, he confronted the dwarf, demanding his treasure. When Andvari refused, Loki resorted to threats, leveraging his cunning to intimidate the dwarf into submission. Out of fear, Andvari reluctantly handed over his hoard, but he begged Loki to let him keep the cursed ring, knowing its terrible power. Loki, however, would not be swayed. He seized the ring, ignoring Andvari's warnings about the curse. As Loki departed with his ill-gotten gains, the dwarf, filled with rage and despair, placed a final curse on the treasure, ensuring it would bring ruin to all who claimed it. This act of greed and coercion would have far-reaching consequences. The cursed treasure, including Andvaranot, eventually found its way into the hands of heroes and kings, sowing discord and tragedy wherever it went. One of the most notable victims of the curse was the hero Sigurd, whose possession of the ring led to a series of unfortunate events, including betrayal, heartbreak, and death. Loki's role in this tale reveals a more calculated side of his mischief. While his actions in other stories often stem from a desire to challenge or amuse, here, his motives are driven by greed and a willingness to inflict harm. The cursed treasure he obtained from Andvari became a symbol of the destructive power of unchecked ambition and the far-reaching consequences of Loki's actions. This story serves as a stark reminder that Loki's mischief was not always harmless or playful. Sometimes it carried a weight that extended beyond the immediate moment, shaping the fates of gods, heroes, and mortals alike. As we continue our journey through Loki's deeds, we'll see how his actions, both light and dark, weave a complex tapestry of chaos and consequence in Norse mythology. Turning now to another ripple in the wake of Loki's deeds, we see how the cursed treasure he took from Andvari weaves its way into the legendary tale of Sigurd, the dragon slayer. Though Loki himself is not a central figure in this story, his actions set the stage for a saga of heroism, tragedy, and fate. Sigurd, a noble hero, came into possession of the cursed ring Andvaranot through a series of events sparked by Loki's earlier mischief. This ring, now part of a vast hoard guarded by the fearsome dragon Fafnir, became the centerpiece of Sigurd's quest. After slaying Fafnir and claiming the treasure, Sigurd hoped to use his newfound wealth to forge a brighter future. However, the curse Loki had set in motion could not be escaped. The ring brought with it a chain of misfortunes that would shape Sigurd's destiny. His relationships were poisoned by mistrust, his victories overshadowed by betrayal, and his life ultimately cut short by tragedy. The same treasure that had once been a symbol of power became a harbinger of doom, its curse extending far beyond its original owner. Loki's indirect role in this tale underscores the enduring impact of his actions. By seizing the cursed treasure from Andvari, he set into motion a sequence of events that would affect not only the gods but also the mortal world. The story of Sigurd serves as a reminder that Loki's mischief often carried consequences that reached far beyond the immediate moment, intertwining with the lives of heroes and shaping the course of mythology. As we reflect on this connection, we see how Loki's influence, even when indirect, could alter the fates of those caught in the web of his schemes. His actions remind us that in the world of Norse mythology, every deed, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, could have far-reaching effects. And so, the tale of Sigurd stands as a testament to the enduring ripple of chaos that Loki left in his wake. Next, we'll explore another layer of Loki's cunning as we delve into his role in the tale of Hrungnir, where his trickery once again proves pivotal in shaping the fates of gods and giants alike. As we move forward, let's uncover another instance where Loki's cunning played a decisive role in the fate of the gods. This time, we turn our attention to the tale of Hrungnir, a formidable giant whose encounter with Thor was orchestrated by none other than the Trickster himself. Hrungnir, known for his immense strength and towering stature, had become a source of concern for the gods. One day, while visiting Asgard, he boasted of his power, even threatening to destroy their home. The gods, wary of his threats, knew they needed a solution, and Loki, ever the opportunist, saw a chance to intervene. With his usual flair for manipulation, Loki approached Hrungnir and challenged him to a duel, claiming that Thor himself had issued the challenge. The giant, proud and eager to prove his might, accepted without hesitation. Loki's plan was simple yet effective. By pitting Hrungnir against Thor, he ensured the giant's downfall while positioning himself as the one who protected Asgard. The duel itself was a spectacle of raw power. Thor, armed with his hammer, Mjölnir, faced Hrungnir, who wielded a massive whetstone. The clash was fierce, but the outcome was inevitable. Thor's strength and skill proved unmatched, and with a single mighty blow, he struck Hrungnir down, shattering the giant's weapon and ending his life. Loki's role in this tale is a perfect example of his dual nature. While his actions were undeniably self-serving, they also served the greater good of the gods. By manipulating Hrungnir into a fatal confrontation, Loki not only rid Asgard of a dangerous threat, but also reaffirmed Thor's reputation as its protector. This story highlights Loki's ability to navigate complex situations with ease, using his wit to bend events to his will. It also serves as a reminder of his complicated relationship with the gods. Though often a troublemaker, he could also be a valuable ally when the need arose. As we continue, we'll see how Loki's cunning takes yet another turn in the tale of Njord and Skadi, where his humor and trickery play a key role in resolving a celestial conflict. Now, let's shift our focus to a lighter moment in Loki's mischievous career, where his wit and humor played a pivotal role in resolving a celestial disagreement. This brings us to the tale of Njord, the god of the sea, and Skadi, the giantess of the mountains, whose union was as unlikely as it was fraught with tension. The story begins with Skadi seeking justice for the death of her father, Thjazi, at the hands of the gods. Determined to make amends, the gods offered her a husband as part of the settlement. Skadi, however, was given a unique condition. She could choose her partner based solely on their feet. Believing she had selected the handsome Baldur, she was instead paired with Njord, the sea god. The mismatch was immediate. Skadi, a lover of the cold, rugged mountains, struggled to adapt to Njord's life by the sea, while Njord found the harsh winters of Skadi's homeland unbearable. Their differences created a rift, and it seemed their union was doomed to fail. Enter Loki, ever the master of levity. Sensing the growing tension, he devised a plan to ease the awkwardness between the couple. With his characteristic flair for humor, Loki staged a comical scene involving a goat and some absurd antics to make them laugh. His efforts succeeded in breaking the ice, allowing Njord and Skadi to see the lighter side of their predicament. This story showcases Loki's unique ability to diffuse tense situations with humor and creativity. While his motives were often self-serving, here he acted as a mediator, using his wit to bring two very different individuals together. It's a reminder that even in the most serious of circumstances, Loki could find a way to lighten the mood and forge unexpected connections. As we move forward, we'll see how Loki's cunning takes center stage once again in the tale of the giant builder, where his cleverness prevents a potential disaster for the gods. Now, let's turn our attention to one of Loki's most cunning exploits, where his quick thinking saved Asgard from a potentially disastrous bargain. This is the tale of the giant builder, a story that highlights Loki's ability to manipulate situations to his advantage, even if it means bending the rules of fairness. The trouble began when the gods decided to fortify Asgard's defenses by building an impenetrable wall around their realm. A skilled giant builder offered to complete the task in just 3 seasons, but his price was steep. He demanded the sun, the moon, and the hand of the goddess Freyja in marriage. The gods, confident in their ability to outwit him, agreed to the deal, but with one condition. The builder had to finish the work entirely on his own, with no help from anyone else. At first, the giant's progress seemed impossible. To everyone's surprise, however, he quickly proved his strength and efficiency. With the help of his powerful stallion, Svadilfari, the giant made remarkable progress, and it soon became clear that he might actually complete the wall on time. Panic set in among the gods as they realized they were about to lose the sun, the moon, and Freyja. This is where Loki stepped in. Knowing that the gods couldn't break their word without tarnishing their honor, Loki devised a devious plan to sabotage the giant's work. One night, as the giant and his stallion labored tirelessly, Loki transformed himself into a mare and lured Svadilfari away. Without his trusty horse, the builder couldn't continue his work and the wall remained unfinished. The consequences of Loki's actions were twofold. On one hand, the gods were spared from fulfilling their end of the bargain. On the other hand, Loki's trickery came at a cost. His shape-shifting escapade resulted in the birth of Sleipnir, Odin's 8-legged horse, who would later become one of the most famous steeds in Norse mythology. This story is a masterclass in Loki's dual nature. While his actions were undeniably self-serving, they also protected the gods from a catastrophic loss. It's a reminder that Loki's mischief often walked the fine line between chaos and salvation, leaving a lasting impact on the world of the gods. As we move forward, we'll delve into another of Loki's clever schemes, this time involving the coveted mead of Kvasir and the lengths he went to secure it for the gods. Shifting our focus to another of Loki's legendary schemes, we come to the tale of the Mead of Kvasir, a story that showcases his unparalleled ability to deceive and outmaneuver even the craftiest of beings. This mead, said to grant the gift of poetry and wisdom to anyone who drank it, was a treasure coveted by gods and mortals alike. Its creation and eventual theft are deeply tied to Loki's cunning nature. The story begins with the death of Kvasir, a wise being born from the spit of the gods. After his passing, his blood was mixed with honey and transformed into the mead of poetry, a drink of immense power. The mead fell into the hands of the dwarves Efjala and Gala, who guarded it fiercely. However, their possession of it was short-lived thanks to Loki's interference. When the giant Suttungr came into possession of the mead after a series of events involving the dwarves, he hid it deep within a mountain guarded by his daughter Gunnlod. The gods, eager to claim this precious elixir for themselves, turned to Loki once again for his trickery. Loki, never one to shy away from a challenge, agreed to retrieve the mead. Using his shape-shifting abilities, Loki transformed into a snake and slithered his way into the mountain. Once inside, he charmed Gunnlod with his silver tongue, convincing her to let him drink the mead. Over the course of 3 nights, Loki consumed the entire supply. Then, in a daring escape, he transformed into an eagle and flew back to Asgard, spilling some of the mead along the way, which, according to legend, is why some humans are gifted with poetic inspiration. The significance of the mead of Kvasir in Norse mythology cannot be overstated. It symbolizes the power of creativity and the divine origins of art and wisdom. Loki's role in its theft highlights his ability to navigate complex situations, often blurring the lines between right and wrong. While his actions were undeniably deceitful, they ultimately benefited the gods and, indirectly, humanity. With this tale, we've seen yet another example of Loki's dual nature, both a troublemaker and a problem solver. As we move forward, we'll explore the final chapter in Loki's story, where his mischief reaches its climax in the events leading to Ragnarok. Now, as we reach the concluding chapter of Loki's tale, we witness the culmination of his mischievous deeds in the dramatic events of Ragnarok, the apocalyptic end of the Norse gods. This final act not only seals Loki's fate, but also cements his legacy as one of the most complex figures in mythology. After the death of Baldur, the gods, enraged by Loki's role in the tragedy, captured him and bound him in a cave deep beneath the earth. To ensure he could not escape, they used the entrails of his son Narfi as chains and placed a venomous serpent above him, whose dripping poison caused him endless torment. Yet, even in this dire state, Loki's spirit remained unbroken, and his story was far from over. As Ragnarok loomed, the prophecy foretold that Loki would break free from his bonds and join the forces of chaos against the gods. True to the prediction, Loki escaped, leading an army of giants and other monstrous beings in the final battle. His role in Ragnarok was pivotal as he stood alongside his offspring Fenrir the wolf, Jörmungandr the serpent, and Hel, ruler of the underworld, against the gods of Asgard. During the cataclysmic battle, Loki faced Heimdall, the watchful guardian of the gods. Their confrontation was fierce and ended in mutual destruction, a fitting end for 2 of Norse mythology's most formidable figures. Loki's death marked the end of an era, but it also underscored his enduring influence as a bringer of chaos and change. Loki's legacy is a paradoxical one. While he was undeniably a trickster who caused strife and suffering, his actions often led to unforeseen consequences that shaped the world of gods and mortals alike. From his cunning schemes to his role in Ragnarok, Loki's story is a testament to the dual nature of chaos, both destructive and transformative. As we reflect on Loki's 25 tales, it's clear that his mischief was more than mere troublemaking. It was a force that challenged order and inspired change. Whether as a trickster, a problem solver, or a harbinger of destruction, Loki's impact on Norse mythology remains unparalleled. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the mischievous deeds of Loki. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more fascinating tales from mythology. Let us know in the comments which of Loki's exploits was your favorite. As we wrap up this journey through Loki's 25 tales of mischief, it's impossible not to marvel at the complexity of this Norse trickster. From his cunning schemes to his chaotic interventions, Loki's actions were never just about causing trouble. They were about shaking the foundations of order and driving change. Whether he was stealing Thor's hammer, orchestrating Baldur's death, or leading the charge in Ragnarok, Loki's influence was always profound, often leaving the gods scrambling to deal with the consequences. His legacy is a fascinating paradox. On one hand, he was a bringer of chaos, a figure who reveled in disruption and often left destruction in his wake. On the other hand, his mischief frequently forced the gods to adapt, innovate, and grow. In many ways, Loki's antics were the catalyst for some of the most pivotal moments in Norse mythology, proving that even chaos has its purpose. Loki's stories remind us that the line between villain and hero is often blurred. He was neither wholly good nor entirely evil, but a figure who embodied the unpredictable nature of life itself. Through his cunning, resourcefulness, and sheer audacity, Loki became a symbol of transformation, a reminder that even the most disruptive forces can lead to unexpected and meaningful change. Thank you for joining us as we explored these 25 tales of Loki's mischievous deeds. If you found these stories as captivating as we did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more deep dives into mythology. Now, we'd love to hear from you. Which of Loki's exploits resonated with you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going.